Okay, so what could these laws about the miscarriage, the word tragedy, the asan, what could all these laws about the injuries and damages and that he's talking about here between the parents, between hitting your parents and cursing your parents and kidnapping and stealing somebody. What could all these laws possibly? How could they all fit? Again, like I said, you go back and you look. What breaks our attention to that? What did that remind me of? That reminded me of Joseph and his brothers to kidnap and to steal. When I start looking, and there's only one word that's and the other whole Torah that matches it. That's a sign, and that a sign is tragedy. And so, but what? So it's explaining something. What am I trying to be taught here? What is the, what is the a principle that's being taught to me? What is the principle that I'm supposed to learn here? All right. So, so then we're going back here, and this is the principle. I think that the parallels may actually be something to do with the very core of Joseph's story. See, if you was to ask anybody, why did the brothers hate Joseph so much? Why did they hate Joseph so much? We're fixing to get a lesson here. This is a lesson that the law is teaching us in this story. That this Torah portion is teaching us. This is a lesson that we're fixing to learn from the laws that he put in here. This is the principle, the lesson, because of the action that was taken. Why did he hate the brothers so much? Why did Joseph's brothers hate him so much? And people would say, oh, that's easy, because he was Jacob's favorite son and it was jealous. He had a coat, and he was a tattletale, and he had all these dreams that he's going to be ruling over his brothers. But the thing about it is, it's actually not so simple. See, we're looking at the story, and we're looking at the commandments, and we're looking at where it brings us in on this laws. And he brought us back to the story here of Joseph for a reason. Because what he's showing us here is that the roots, because what Jacob has said is, basically, he really said, that was all I had left of my wife Rachel. My wife Rachel was Benjamin. So the roots of the brothers' hatred that caused them to kidnap Joseph and sell him as a slave had actually began before any of this. It began before Joseph's dreams. It began before Jacob gave him that special coat. It began even before any of them was born. Because what had happened, it began with Jacob's love for Rachel. Rachel was Jacob's beloved wife, and that's good, but he also had another one. And Joseph was her firstborn. That's why Jacob loved him so much. And Benjamin. But that's also the reason that his brothers hated him so much, because it wasn't just about Joseph. It was about the way Joseph favored one mother over another. And it was about how he favored one set of his children over the other. And Joseph always carried the brunt of that. See, you think a child can't tell when you're favoring, it's like if you're loving one person over another, like Leah and Rachel. Leah, Jacob didn't love her like that. And I'm sure even the kids paid the price for that. Because what happened was they had Joseph, who was set above that because he was Rachel's child. He was of Rachel and not of Leah. So, of course, that would stir some kind of anger and some kind of something inside the children. But Joseph had to really pay for a penalty that wasn't even his. he really had to pay for something that wasn't his fault. Now back to the midrash. Now back to the portion reading. We find that the laws about kidnapping and selling someone are the laws that remind us of the sale of Joseph. And lumped together, these laws, where it said, the cursing of the mother, the parents, and then it had the kidnapping and the selling of the slave, and then it had the hitting of the parents, and then the kidnap, and then the cursing of parents, which the cursing also is more than just like words and cursing. That means you're cursing their life. You're cursing them. Anyway, you get all these laws lumped together. So they're not all three so separate after all. They're right there together. They all mean something together. What happened? They're all lumped together. They all mean something. Look, boys, whenever you done this to your brother, you cursed your dad. You cursed him. You just the same as slapped him. You killed him. You killed a part of your dad. But you done it to your brother. You killed your brother because you was unjust to him also. What you did was unjust. Now Jacob, you was kind of unfair also, Jacob, because what you did is you favored, you put your younger son, you put him in a position because you showed him so much favor, because you treated him with favoritism, so you put him in a position yourself also. But anyway, it's just so many lessons is right there in that little bit of that one law. You got so much lessons in that little portion right there. So where it looks like sometimes things are out of place, they're not so much out of place after all. Maybe they've been grouped together to show us a backstory of something, like with Joseph and his brothers and the struggles they had, because the brothers did kidnap Joseph. They did kidnap him, and it could have they could have just as easily hit him, cursed him, or whatever, but they kidnapped him, and in effect that cursed their parents. See, when it comes down to it, the real source of all the anger and jealousy was really the dad. Really, and Rachel, they was really dangerous. No, I'd say maybe mainly Rachel. I'd say they was really more jealous and angry at Rachel. Yep, that would be what it'd be, because the miscarriage. They was more jealous of Rachel, but the brothers didn't want to admit it. They were jealous of the love that Jacob had for Rachel over them. So I say the biggest source of the jealousy was towards Rachel, and Joseph suffered the blunt of it. He suffered it because, see, all they could see was, I don't know if they even recognized it, because all they could see was Joseph prancing around with his coat and his dreams, and so they took it all out on him. But their anger was so misguided. The cause of their anger actually came from their parents. Now, that's not to say that the brothers should have attacked their parents, because they shouldn't have. But it probably would have been a good idea to try to talk to them about it, but I don't know if they could have in that days. But it wasn't a good idea to punish your brother for it either. father's like, things like this is going to happen. This is going to happen. You can't disrespect your parents, but don't make your brother pay for it either. Okay? Don't make them pay for it. It's not their fault either. Because see, sometimes the real problem is inequality. They're not treating things equal. Sometimes the problem is that love isn't equal. Sometimes the problem is they are loving one more than they are the other, and the love that the parents might have for each other or other people trickle down to the kids and to the next generation. And things need to be addressed. Father said, talk about these things, address them, because if you don't, what happens is innocent people suffer because of it, and that's what happened. Joseph suffered because of it, and so that's why we watch that. That's why we try. That's why Father's so strong about saying when he comes to Ephesians 5, fathers, don't provoke your children to anger. Children, you honor your father and your mother. Let's see, that's why Father throws that in there also. Okay? He doesn't give children excuses. You still got to obey and honor. But the thing, and he said, in the Lord. I mean, if they're telling you to get out and kill somebody, of course, But he says, this is why he's saying it. See, this portion, the laws, have taught us something. Just imagine how different things would have played out if Jacob and his children and his wives had actually got together and tried to deal things, or if Jacob tried to be more equal and treat them with more equality than anything, or if he didn't try to put one on a pedestal and the other not. See, apparently he really just wasn't that good to Leah, because look how she named her kids. Maybe this will make him love me. Maybe this will make him love me. I laugh because now this is going to make him love me. See that? So apparently she was unloved and she knew it. But then when her kids come up, they knew it too. And then they seen him loving Rachel. And ultimately the innocent ones had to pay. So Father's really cautious. That's why he says, that's why you have the commandments to love the Lord your God with your heart, your soul, mind, your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. That's why he has all the commandments about loving and equality and not killing and not stealing and not coveting and all of them commandments that people don't see what they mean, or when he comes down and he starts giving you all these ordinances to go along with them. That's so one of the kids ain't going around saying, well, why did you love Rachel more than you did our mother? Do you know how that makes us feel? And then maybe they'll realize that sometimes when they're feeling angry at somebody else, or like when they was feeling angry about their little brother, maybe they might realize that it wasn't really their little brother's fault after all. Maybe the whole entire thing about Joseph being sold wouldn't have happened after all. Maybe a lot of innocent people wouldn't have had to suffer. See, this is what you got to do. You got to understand sometimes the parallels that you're going to see in the laws. And look for, and while you're looking at the laws, understand the parallels that you're seeing in that section of the laws, just like you did here with Judah's speech and the woman who miscarried, and how it was brought together with, the cursing and hitting of your parents, and then the being sold into slavery, and then that word I saw, the tragedy, how that's the only other word in the whole Torah, the only other place it's at is with the miscarriage there, and when Judah's giving a speech talking about that, and with Jacob who's talking about it was a loss, because what you're seeing is you're seeing something going on. You're seeing Father telling us, you're seeing Father explain to us things that everybody's like, well, why did he give that law? Well, he gave that law. He explained to you why he gave it. So that he don't want us to hurt. He don't want us to hurt each other. He don't want to see nobody hurt. He don't want to see people fighting. He don't want to see that. And he wants us to learn. So this is why he gives it to us. This is why he tells us the stories in the Bible. This is why we have laws in the Word to help us to understand each other and what's going on. This is why this is the lesson that we learn. This is just the surface of it, though, y'all. This is just the surface. This is why Father Yah does this. Because not only does he want us to say, oh, that's the law and you have to do it and this is it and that's that and blah, blah, blah. It's because it's not that. It's because he loves us and he wants us to learn and he wants us not to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's actually some of the most loving things that's ever been done for us if we would only see them for what they are. Some of them are ordinances, and each one, everybody wants to put them all into one, but people don't even realize that some of them is hygienic, some of them is what happens here. Every law he gives us is to keep us from hurting or hurting somebody else, and it's to teach us a lesson. It's what is the meaning? Why did it happen? What can we not do? What's the lesson we learned here? What's the lesson? So, what's the principle behind it? Always look and see what the whole principle is, and always watch for the little clues, like the verily, verily. Anytime you see something stuck in there that seems so out of place, it's not out of place. It just wants you to go to that story. It wants you to look and see what it was like here. Again, I'm going to say it again. It's like with Joseph, like the sale of the slave. Hold on, don't curse the mama, don't slap the mom and daddy, and don't curse and don't sell. Right stuck there in the middle. Alert, alert, alert. What's that story remind you of? What did that say? Well, it reminded me of Joseph being sold as a slave. Okay, so let's go over there and look and see what's going on here. Back to here. Compare. Is there any parallels going on? Compare. What's being said here? What are we looking for here? And then we have the whole story. We have the whole story. Soul for soul, we have the whole story. Look. Don't make the innocent pay for what the guilty's done. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. Because, see, you have to respect them too. Fathers, watch what you do. Father, you watch what you do. Because, see, that goes all the way back to Ephesians 2. Don't provoke your children anger. Sometimes you can provoke it. Don't do that. But children, I don't care. You ain't got an excuse. You don't mistreat or disrespect your parents. Under no circumstances. You just don't do it. You don't disrespect them. I see that the same as murder. But parents should be careful how you're doing your sons and your children also. And then, hold on just a minute. Don't you make the innocent pay for what the guilty's done. And you get a hold of your feelings. You don't have a right to mistreat somebody no matter what was done to you. You don't have this right. I don't care what they did. You don't have the right to mistreat somebody. It's just it's just a soul for a soul thing. I mean, is it really gonna, what good is it really doing for like when he was asking Joseph about Jacob? I mean, really, and paraphrasing it my way, look, what good's it gonna do for you to kill somebody? I mean, what good's it gonna do? You are killing an innocent man because you're going to try to make somebody else pay. You're trying to make our brother pay. Basically, too, what they knew it was for something he didn't do. But you're going to make our brother pay. You're going to kill somebody else. What good's it do? You're going to just take somebody's life. I mean, in this case. Okay, well, anyway, I guess that's all. You can learn a whole lot. The whole thing about this is always know that there's nothing that's been put there that isn't for a reason. even though it seems long and boring when you start reading them. It seems long and boring. But it's just like our laws today. If you ever start sitting down reading them, you're going to say, I cannot believe. Hold on. Honey, they make that in the Bible look very simple. Everybody's saying we don't live by laws. You got more laws out here than you could ever dream of finding in the Bible. So, but some of them are for our own good. Actually, they was all meant to be to start with. All right, I love you. I hope you got something out of this. Love you too. You're worth it. Shabbat shalom.